What's up guys, it's Lance here, and today I'm bringing you a review of Tractor the Water Frankenstein. This guy is a Nat 3, and so he's not technically farmable, but most people consider the Nat 3s farmable monsters. I'll talk about a couple things. The first thing I'll talk about will be where he's useful. The second thing I'll talk about is how to rune him. And the third thing I'll talk about is if he's worth 6-starring or not. You can see here, I do have mine 6-starred, so I feel like I have a decent perspective on whether he really is worth it or not. So here you can see my runes and their stats and stuff. So you can see he's got 45 accuracy, which is relevant. Resistance is relevant to an extent. Of course, more resistance is better, but he is immune to defense break, and I'll go over the skills in a second. His speed is okay. It's sitting at about 171. The defense is also okay, sitting around 16,500, like 1,650. And his HP isn't insane, sitting around 15,000, or yeah, 15,000. Those are the stats you're really looking for. If you want to, you can go with a little bit of crit rate. But attack, you don't need to worry about. Crit damage, I wouldn't really say worry about. And crit rate, I don't really even think you should worry about either. The first thing I'll talk about, where he's useful. On this channel, I did make a video showcasing him in Giants B10. And if you did watch that video, you'll remember that I didn't recommend him in Giants B10, but I did say he's okay. But where Tractor really is good is in Guild War offense, not defense, because all you have to do is Lucian this and then he's dead, because Lucian's wind and ignores defense, and so you can just one-shot this guy with a Lucian, no problem. On Guild War offense, in certain scenarios, he's extremely useful because his passive will make it so he can not get broken. And then that works well because his first skill does do damage proportionate to defense. So that makes his passive works pretty well. And so being immune to defense break means that he's not going to get his damage reduced, and he's not going to be easily sniped unless you go against ignore defense. But since this is your Guild War offense, hopefully you're not going to be bringing Tractor against people that ignore defense, because that's like the direct counter to him. And the other thing is when he gets crit, he gets 30% attack bar. That's pretty useful, just so if you bring him against wind monsters that are going to crit, like this guy can go against Wind Panda, because Wind Panda will attack him and he can't defense break him, and then he'll give your Tractor attack bar. So if you bring like Tractor and Tessarian against Wind Panda, then it'll be a pretty easy fight, because the Wind Panda will attack your Tractor and give you attack bar, and he's not going to defense break you, and then you use Tessarian to make it so the Wind Panda doesn't do any damage to you. And that's a counter that I found that works really effective, actually. But Tractor is good on the like more bruiser teams, I guess you could call it. He doesn't work with the teams where you just snipe people, because despite the fact he can do decent damage, he can't one-shot stuff. At least not with the runes I have. He can't one-shot anything. And this skill right here is a harmless skill, but I'll talk about the skills in a second. But so he's good in the long, drawn-out fights. People to pair Bulldozer with is healers, defense buffers, any kind of like CC that you have. Stuff for long fights. He's good at crowd controlling the other team if you build your team right, because his first skill will have a huge chance to stun, because you can see here that he gets plus 20 harmful effect and it's already at 25, so you get a 45% chance each attack, which is already 2 times. And then if they don't have any other harmful effects, there's a third attack. So normally when I bring other enemies, I pick an enemy that only Tractor attacks, so that he can basically get a guaranteed stun, or at least close. Because if you attack 3 times, each with a 45% chance to stun, there's a really good chance you will stun. An example of a team I use a lot with Tractor is Emma, Tractor, and Bella. I don't defense break whoever I want to kill because I want Tractor to hit them 3 times and just lock them down, and eventually he'll kill them. So although defense break will make it so he does more damage per hit, with the defense break he gets 1 less hit, which means he gets less hits, which really just means you're less likely to stun. And if you're bringing Tractor, you're not going to be relying on sniping anyone. Another thing Tractor's really good at countering is Galleon teams, particularly Galleon Zyros teams. Like when I attack Galleon, Zyros, and Tiana, I bring Tractor a lot. I realize Galleon, Tiana, Zyros is not really that popular in Arena or a Guild War defense anymore, but people still do bring it every there and then. And Tractor pretty much counters it pretty well because he doesn't get defense broken, and then he can stun Zyros really reliably because the Zyros will likely not have high resistance. And then your Tractor attacks 3 times and each has a 45% chance to stun. So a lot of times when you attack that kind of team, Zyros will get his first turn off and then never again. So Tractor works super good against that. I think that's kind of what I have to say about where he's useful. It's just there's a lot of different Guild War offense scenarios. I can't name every single team he's good against. But another thing I can say about what he's good with is people that heal based on their HP, because Tractor has low HP but high defense. So even though he can be really tanky, a person that heals based on their HP will heal him a lot because he doesn't have that much HP. But so stuff like Emma I found to be super good with Tractor because not only does she heal based on her HP, she also gives a defense buff, which just makes Tractor insanely tanky, because this Emma right here has about 26,000 HP, and with this skill completely maxed, you get 36% of her HP as a heal. So I'll just say about a third of her HP. So it should be around 9,000 HP. And if you check here on my Tractor, 9,000 HP is about 60%. So my Tractor gets a 60% heal plus a defense buff. And so it's just extremely, extremely useful. Emma also brings a buff strip, which is nice in case you need to strip immunity or attack buff or whatever it might be from the enemy. Emma works really good with Tractor. Other stuff that works good with Tractor is other kind of crowd control monsters that you might have, or stuff like that. Like Verd, if you have stunners, they work good with Tractor. Extra healers work good with Tractor. You don't need to bring stuff that changes your cooldowns though, like stuff like Jameyer you don't need to use him because Tractor's best skill is his first skill, so you don't really need to worry about that. Vero works good with Tractor to cleanse any like attack breaks, speed debuffs, whatever. Konamiya would work good. Whatever. I can't name everything in the world, but that's kind of what I got to say about what he's good with and how to use him. Now I'll talk about his skills briefly, but I did mention a lot about his skills while I was talking about where he's good. But the first skill, as I said earlier, it has a 45% chance to stun when you have max skills, and it does damage proportionate to his defense, which is nice because he's a defense type and he's immune to defense break. So if you build him with defense, he'll be tanky, do a little damage, and he can't be countered by defense break. I recommend using this skill so Tractor hits unharmed enemies so that he gets 3 attacks, but sometimes you only need 2. And then this skill right here, it's not insane, but it does come useful sometimes. It is a AoE 75% chance to provoke, reusable every 3 turns when it's max skilled. But so this is nice because since his passive gives him attack bar when you get crit and he'll be naturally tanky, sometimes this comes in handy if someone on your team is close to dying, because he'll taunt them and then they'll attack him. They could potentially give him attack bar and then he gets to go again and he saves your teammates from dying. So this does come useful sometimes, but mainly his first skill is the best. And then the passive I also talked about, but it just makes it so you're immune to defense break and you get attack bar when you get attacked with a crit. It's a pretty good passive. If for a Nat 3, he's very good situationally. He's not something you just bring into every defense you fight, but he is something that works against some select defenses. And namely, he works against defenses that don't have ignore defense, first of all. Like, if they have ignore defense, then it's going to be a little tricky, I'd say. And then it doesn't work good against people with immunity because he does rely on crowd control on both of his skills. But he has a pretty solid kit. And getting into the last part, would I recommend 6-starring him or not? I would say I do recommend him depending on where you are in the game. If you are still working on any dungeons, I mean, don't bother with him. He's not going to help you at all, really, in any dungeon in the game. If you do want to see how he works in Giants, I have a video on my channel, and the link might be in the description if I remember it, but if it's not, just go on my channel and search Tractor, and I'm sure it'll pop up, because I think that's the only other video about Tractor I have on the channel. But so you can check that out if you are thinking about it. But since he's only good in Guild Wars, I don't recommend it to anyone that's not trying to focus on Guild Wars. So if you are looking for something to play with, then he is nice. He's not like a core unit. He's not like a Copper or Bulldozer where you can bring him in to like 90% of your attacks. He is very situational, but when you can use him, he does work really well. So that's kind of my final conclusion on him in terms of if you should 6-star him. It's situational whether you should. But so I think that's kind of all I have to say about Tractor and all I really have to say for this video. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, just tell me in the comments and I'll likely answer it pretty soon. Also, if there's any other videos you want to see, definitely leave that in the comments too. And we'll probably make a video on it soon, but I can't guarantee it, I guess. But that's really all I have for today though, guys. So may the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows.